Mayor Dawn Zimmer went into great detail with Hudson County View about the current and the proposed Suez Water deals that have caused great controversy in recent weeks. Zimmer began by explaining how poor the current deal, with an amendment negotiated by Mayor Anthony Russo in 2001, is, and how it pales in comparison to the new deal her administration has come up with.
The agreement that we're proposing provides 5 times the level of investment that we've ever had before, over $1.8 million going towards making sure that we have a reliable system, making those investments every single year. And so, that will take the burden, the proposed solution that we have will take the burden off the taxpayers. I mean, the problem that we're facing is the just outrageous amendment that was entered into in 2001. So that amendment was entered into 23 years in advance and basically said, we're okay with giving up $200,000 a year in additional maintenance costs. That's about $4.6 million. And it also said, we're okay, 13 years in advance, they made the decision that we're okay with whatever the 2011 levels are for water, and we'll pay the excess. So that it equates now, they're telling us, to about $1.3 million. So we literally, in exchange for a $2.7 million payment that was used to plug the budget hole, not to make an investment in the water main system, in exchange for that, we gave up over $17 million in benefit to the city.
The mayor also called away the city council, who didn't vote on the agenda item at the September 6th meeting after no one sponsored it, handled the situation disappointing.
It's been really disappointing to see what the reaction is. You know, one, for council members to be saying that they somehow uncovered this. I mean, I wrote them a letter on July 11th that specifically talks about 2014. We put it in the newsletter. It specifically talks about 2014 and the outrageous terms of the agreement. The presentation was sent out in July, and it was given to the city council in early August. So for them, you know, it feels like basically after, you know, Labor Day, elections kick in, and they start to see a different way to try to look at this. And, you know, unfortunately, it's the people of Hoboken that are going to suffer. I mean, you know, for political reasons, they're hurting the vital interests of our city.
She further stated that claims by council members that they uncovered the $8.35 million liability is disingenuous for a number of reasons.
And it's really unfortunate that council members, instead of looking to solve this problem, they're trying to attack what the proposed solution is. So, you know, those are, you know, really unfair accusations. It's unfortunate, but you know, I've always worked as hard as I could to represent the best interests of the people of Hoboken, and this Suez deal, I believe, is in the best interests of our city, and will really make sure, again, that we are making those capital improvements every year.
At the council meeting, it seemed like the business administrator and one of the city consultants, people on the council, they were all talking about, well, you know, I heard about this last week or yesterday or 2 months ago or a year ago. There seemed to be a lot of variation as to when this liability was brought to their attention. So when did you find out about it, and when did you start to take action in improving that situation?
Well, I mean, the reality is that we don't know exactly what the amount is. That's, you know, that was part of the memorandum of understanding. They have not billed. It's not billed and payable, and it was part of the negotiations. So, and so, I mean, basically, that's what it is. It's part of the negotiations, and I've proposed a solution. So we've been engaged in negotiations since 2015. And really working to resolve this.
Council President Giattino said that one of the reasons that she did not think there was sufficient information provided in mid-July was because that they've had a few subcommittee meetings of the Infrastructure Committee, and she believes that there were certain requests that were not met. For example, the city auditor did not speak in one of those meetings, and she didn't feel that the questions that they needed answered were answered. So, I mean, what would be your reaction to that?
Well, we had the auditor, you know, at the city council meeting. We provided a letter from the auditor. So, you know, I felt like instead of having sort of the auditor wasn't available, but I also felt like instead of having you know, sort of a closed door meeting that they were asking for, that we have the conversation in public. So
the new deal, if I'm not mistaken, would have a $10 million forgiveness for the city. So just to clarify now, would that mean the $8.35 million liability and beyond would be forgiven, or are these two different things?
Well, it's 5.2 for excess bulk water costs from 2014 to 2017, or 2018. And that's 1.8 million. And then they're giving us three years going forward of benefit. So it's a $10 million total benefit that they're giving us.
So it would erase that liability, potentially.
Well, we're also phasing in, so they're trying to get us up to the actual costs of the bulk water. So going forward, the ratepayers would be responsible for the excess costs of the bulk water. So for a 6-year period, it gets us up to a certain level, and then the ratepayers will need to pay for some of the water costs going forward.
In closing, Zimmer also explained what it meant for the ratepayers to be responsible for the cost in the potential new agreement.
This proposal will also make it fairer so that it should be the ratepayers. It should be that the ratepayers are the ones that are responsible for the system. And so right now, it's the taxpayers that are largely responsible for the system. And so with this deal, it's something where we're getting tremendous benefit. We're making the upgrades. And as far as the costs, any additional costs, it's the ratepayers that pay for it. So it shouldn't be that a family of 4 is, they're paying through their taxes more than a car wash would pay for all of the water that they use.
I'm John Heides with the Hudson County View, the eye of the community.